Hi guys, it's Mixing with Ethan here, and for today's video I want to talk about frequency response. So when we think of frequency response, the first thing that comes to my mind is speakers. So when buying new speakers, you might look into the frequency response they have to see whether they're good speakers, to see whether they have the kind of frequency response that you're looking for. But it's quite often overlooked that there's a lot more things that have a frequency response that you might need to take into consideration that people often overlook or don't even know about. So what might these things be? So the first thing is obviously microphones. All microphones have different frequency responses, and that's why they might work better in certain situations than others. So if you were recording a guitar and you wanted that guitar to have a really bright tone, then you might want to pick a microphone that has a really bright frequency response and that has that nice top end in it. But then there's a lot more layers to it as well. It's a lot more complex than that. So you have speakers have a frequency response, microphones have a frequency response, but then as well the actual room you're recording in has a tone to it. It almost is like it has a frequency response. So if you're in a room that sounds quite dark, then the sounds you're recording in that room could sound darker and be perceived as darker as if they record somewhere else. So you have to take all of these different layers into consideration. So you have the microphone, you have the speakers, you have the room it was recorded in, and then as well when you're listening back to it, maybe in the mixing process, that is in a different room again. That room has a different frequency response with different speakers again. Now bear with me here, because this is where it gets complicated. So, your own ears have a frequency response. And I know it sounds complicated, but even if you have your headphones, your speakers, your room, and you take all that into consideration, every human is different, and all of our ears are sensitive and less sensitive to different frequencies. And I don't mean because of hearing damage, I'm talking normal hearing. Everyone is different. So why might we use this? So as a mixing engineer, it can really help you to understand what your own ears are hearing. And for example, I know that my ears are sensitive to around 8 kilohertz. I'm like hypersensitive to sibilants. So by knowing this, I don't over de-ess my vocals, which I used to do, and I didn't understand why. But now I know that I'm oversensitive to that frequency range, so I take that into consideration when mixing. So it's really helpful to know not only the frequency response of the equipment you're using, the room you're in, but also your own ears. And this can really help in the mixing process to give you that extra depth and to understand how to make your mixes translate well across multiple systems. And so how do you learn your own frequency response of your ears? Well, there's many apps out there on the app stores, and you can download that do sign sweeps like hearing tests. You can go to your local doctors. Obviously, I understand right now is not the best time, we're in COVID-19 situation, but when all this is over, you could go to a hearing doctor. They can actually do a test and they can tell you what frequencies you're more or less susceptible to. But yeah, literally just a simple app on your phone with a pair of Apple headphones can give you a rough idea of what your curve is like. And it really helped me as well, because I actually found out in my right ear I have a dip at around 3 kilohertz. So I need to be careful of that as well. So not your ears aren't exactly the same, so that can affect your stereo image as well when mixing. You need to learn stuff like that. But this really helps you create consistency throughout your mixes. So when you're moving to different studios, if you're working in different places, that is the reason why in multiple studios you always see a pair of NS10s. The reason why this works so well is one, because it's a very famous frequency response that people know and love. And two, because they're near field monitors, they're not affected by the room they're in as much. So therefore your mix can translate well through these different studios because you can sit down and hear a pair of monitors you know. So when you're in a room that you're not aware of, equipment that you don't know, you can feel more at home and comfortable in the space you're working in because of those near field NS10s. That's why they're so commonly used. My version of this is I take my headphones wherever I go. I know my headphones through and through. They are a pair of headphones I absolutely love, and because of this, I take them wherever I go. And it's almost like I've not heard a mix properly until I've heard them through those headphones, because the frequency response those headphones have with the frequency response of my own ears matches very well, and I know them. So it's all about picking. I would recommend picking a pair of headphones that you like. Doesn't matter how expensive or cheap they are. They could be Apple headphones. Just pick something that you like and you're comfortable with and that you've used for a long time. And once you know that and you know your own ears, then you can make your mixes translate wherever. You can go into a room you've never been in before, sit down, put your headphones on, listen to the mix in your headphones, and then you're like, okay, I understand what the room sounds like now. And that gives you that base point to start from, to feel comfortable, to understand what is it you're really hearing, and then you can work in your new environment. Especially you producers out there who are creating beats on the go, creating your demos, constantly moving around, this gives you a base point to go from. As well, if you want to get even more geeky and into it, you have software like SonarWorks that actually learns the frequency response of the room you're in, your monitors and headphones, and it can actually correct that. There's a lot of different opinions on SonarWorks. Personally, I think it depends on the person. It can be really good, but I wouldn't recommend using it constantly. I would use it as a reference point. Switch it on, give it a quick listen with SonarWorks on, and then switch it off again and carry on working. I wouldn't use it constantly switched on. That's just my opinion. Maybe go give a trial of SonarWorks, see what you think of it. But yeah, learning the frequency response of your own ears is the big secret, and it could be a big help for your production and your mixes. So I hope this video has been really helpful. If you have any more questions, get in the comments. Check out my Instagram for more updates on up and coming videos, and don't forget to like and subscribe.